Uh, uh, yeah. Game chat on the mic, Friday night light. Line from the board, Isaac taking flight. Question of the day, what's it gonna be? Guests on the show, come and take a seat. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Pick 5 games, what's your top choice? Hear the people shout, raise up your voice. Interview time, guest in the chair. Sharing stories, feels like we're there. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Interview time, guest in the chair. Sharing stories, feels like we're there. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Pick 5 games, what's your top choice? Hear the people shout, raise up your voice. Interview time, guest in the chair. Sharing stories, feels like we're there. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Yeah. Game chat on the mic, Friday night light. Line from the board, Isaac taking flight. Question of the day, what's it gonna be? Guests on the show, come and take a seat. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go. Pick 5 games, what's your top choice? Hear the people shout, raise up your voice. Interview time, guest in the chair. Sharing stories, feels like we're there. Game chat crew, feel the rhythm flow. Talking board games, all systems go.
Looks like we're live without Ryan. So we're jumping right in. Hopefully our audio works. Welcome to the game chat. This is Isaac, sans Ryan for just a minute, and our guest tonight. Usually we prop you in and then post you up, but he just threw you right to the video. Is Scott Morris. Scott, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, man. Anytime. That's actually the new name of the entire podcast now is Live Without Ryan. So
I love it. I don't know if we'll gain or lose people for that. I'm not really sure.
we'll have to check the metrics, right?
Well, we've been out for a little bit. Rye, I just recently moved. Rye was in Paris, in France for a week with his family, so we've had a little travel time, had a little downtime, and apparently enough to mess up his audio. So we'll see if see what happens in a few minutes here. But we'll jump right in. We're going to be talking about a little bit of reflection, a little bit of look back at 2020, 5 years later, what we played, what we didn't play, what we learned from what we like then to what we like now. But we like to have some type of introductory question, something to start us off. So, Scott, I'm going to toss it to you first. It is the start of the newest sports season, that is baseball. Yes, we got the Yankees cap. Baseball is alive. First off, the question is going to be, are you a baseball fan? Which
very much so. Very much so.
And then secondly, like, what's your team? And then what's the best part about going to a ballpark?
So I'm a Red Sox fan. No, I'm kidding. You can tell if you're watching this and not listening to it. Yeah, I'm wearing a Yankees hat. I grew up in New York and love the Yankees. I have many fond memories of going to that stadium. Just growing up wanting to be nothing but Don Mattingly. Like that was, he was one of my heroes growing up. So it was fun stuff. So yeah, I'm addicted to baseball, you could say. So
So what's the best part of going to a game?
ironically, I had a lot of fun last year. I one of my team members, our chief operations officer, actually came to Gen Con, and I took him to a baseball game for the first time. And he had never been to a baseball game before, and he's from Poland. And
Oh,
I was
nice.
like, "How much do you want me to explain? Like, do you want me to go deep, or do you want me to go high level?" And he goes, "Go for it." And I'm like, within the first three batters, he looked at me and he goes, "I had no idea so much was going on in this game," because I was like, "This is why he threw a slider, and this is why he went away from him, and this is why like it's that game of chess, right?" It's
Yeah.
my favorite part about the game is I love how in depth it can be.
Now, are you a keep stats kind of guy?
I'm the guy that I'm 52 years old, so I'm the guy that grew up with like a pencil and paper, like putting down the numbers and who got the
Yep.
outs and what numbers and stuff like that. Which I've been told there's this thing called a phone that tracks all that for you now.
Allegedly,
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 I
yeah,
don't know, but yeah,
yeah. I love that. Baseball was not the sport I grew up playing or really watching much, to be completely honest. But as a everything Detroit sports fan, root for the Tigers as they got hot last year. It was fun to kind of watch all of the other teams come around them in Detroit, the Lions, Pistons, everybody coming in and enjoying their success. So, but
yeah,
for us down here in Northwest Ohio, we have the Toledo Mudhens, AAA team.
the Mud Hens. What a
Yeah,
great name!
and they have for the last handful of years been voted as the best AAA stadium in the country, and it is a great
Nice,
time. It's right in the heart of downtown. They took it out of the suburb it was in, put it in downtown next to the minor league hockey team, and you can go down there, get a pretty good price, have a great night with friends, and for me it's the what's on the menu, right? What kind of food things are we gonna get? What are the
yep,
food items? We're gonna try and get up to a Tigers game this year. My mother-in-law is a huge Reds fan,
okay,
so we're gonna see if we can line that up. She is everything that my wife isn't when it comes to sports. My mother-in-law watches them all the time. My wife is like, "Oh, I see you're watching sports still."
nice.
So,
That's
so
awesome.
we're gonna get up there, try and get her to see a game and have a good time with it. So,
You know what's funny? And I should probably sit down and ask her about this, but hearing you say that makes me think about it. My mom watches basketball, and I used to play basketball when I was in high school. But the weird part is I never watched it. I
the
like,
sport wasn't into it.
yeah, I enjoyed playing it more than watching it. But even to this day, my mom's in her 70s, and God bless her, she still watches basketball. And I'm like, I don't even know if she has a favorite team or she just watches it for the heck of watching it. So that has sparked a great question for me to ask my mom now.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is a big basketball fan. She's watching, cheering on the Pistons because she knows I really like them, and
Nice.
she loves the Cavs. And it's that crunch time of year. We're watching NCAA. We're watching the Pistons. Who just set a NBA record as for the first time ever. They're the first team to triple their total from one year to the next in victories.
Whoa, that's
Well, they only
crazy.
had 14 the last year, so that would be why.
Wow, that's true. Yeah, nowhere to go but up, right?
We'll see if we have Rye here. Maybe. No, still
We
no
have
audio.
visual
That's
rye,
weird.
but no audio rye.
Yeah, that is odd.
Apparently, your computer is stuck on French settings, maybe. So
Yes. Well, he said Isaac's pretty amazing, so he should be fine to
that's what it looked like from lip reading.
carry it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what well, while he continue. Oh, different camera angle.
I was just gonna say, wow, this is fan. That's the NCIS camera.
Still nothing on that, right?
Yep.
Not a
We
not
should
a.
just have a conversation and let him do
Yeah,
this, and
we'll
people can fill in comments in the comment section about what they think Ryan's saying.
we'll translate for him.
That'd be
Yes.
pretty funny.
Well, while if you interrupt whenever if you got sound, but I'm gonna keep us plugging along.
Sure.
So we said we're gonna talk 2020 and a lot going on 5 years ago.
That was
Uh,
so long ago. That was
yeah,
like 20
crazy,
years
right?
ago.
I think we all lived a full lifetime in that 5 years.
Yeah.
But in 2020, we kind of crashed into a lot of wild changes with COVID, with the way board games are being played, the way conventions were not being gone to, and everything kind of hit right around now. It was
Yeah.
right around March of 2020. I know for me personally, my transition in that time working in healthcare. Went from working in the clinic, being furloughed, being coming in doing temperature checks, being in ER type of just trying to help manage patients. And so there was a lot going on at that time. But the thing I remember is kind of funny is when we go to Origins, we go to Columbus for that every year. In
Sure.
March, they have the Arnold in Columbus.
Oh yeah, for
And
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
yep, Arnold's big health. People from all over the world come out to compete. And I was going the last week of March. We were going to that. We had plans, me and a couple buddies. We had it all planned, and then they canceled it all. They said they were really concerned about everything going on in the world. We don't want all these people coming into one place. And I remember thinking, like, gosh, it's not that big of a deal, guys. Come on. And really glad that I was not in an
Oh,
environment.
remember those good old days? Oh, this
Yeah.
will pass in a month. It'll be
Yeah.
over with. Like,
and not so much. But
Oof.
games changed, right? And things changed with how we play them specifically. So how did you play games during that time? Like, because I know not everybody has the same situations, but what worked for you for playing
I had
games
a whole
during that
nother
time?
layer added on top of that. So my wife and I were moving. We lived in Texas for over 20 years in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And we moved to Kansas City, Missouri, where we live right now, right at the beginning of the pandemic. In
Oh,
fact,
wow.
we were looking for houses when I was at the time working for GTS Distribution, and we were getting ready to go to Gamma. And I remember calling my boss, and I was like, hey, we haven't really found a house here. We've been looking for the last 3 days. And he's like, well, that's cool. You can stay looking because we're not going to Gamma because we don't really know what's going on with this whole COVID thing or what's happening. And
Yeah, absolutely.
he actually, and I have to give him major props and shout outs on this. Like, he was definitely in that mode of people over profits. Like, they threw away like 5 digits worth of numbers to not go to that show just
Wow.
to make sure people were safe, because their headquarters is in Linwood, Washington, and that's where the epicenter of the like outbreak was at that time.
Right.
So I really, to this day, I love him so much for, doing it that way and handling it that way. But, we moved right at the end of February, beginning of March, and everything was shut. Like, I'm sitting here and I have all these people telling me, oh, there's all these great places, tabletop games and hobbies and level 1 game shop and mission board games. And I'm like, they're all closed. Yay. It was terrible. And we didn't know anybody really other than family. So
Right.
thankfully, we actually did a lot of family gaming that year. It was, invite my sister-in-law and brother-in-law over, and, smaller kind of game nights and things like that. And lots of, it's the new patio. Let's go out in the new patio and play a roll and write game or something like
Right.
that. But it was really heavy into the family games and playing with our boys. I have two boys who are 17 and 19, and then an older daughter who's on her own and out of the house already, but definitely changed to much more family stuff and a lot less friend group stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of where we found ourselves as my kids were in that junior high school range. We already played a lot of games with our family, but man, that definitely ramped up. I know a lot of people talk about their, BG stats being low. Mine were not low that year.
Right.
but my location distribution was very tight. And
Oh yeah. When you were talking about 2020, I pulled up my BG stats, and man, mad props to these dudes. Cause like, I know it's one guy in a garage doing everything, but like, I've been using this app for over 10 years now. And it's the best $6 I've ever spent in gaming. And I pulled it up and looked at it. And yeah, when you look at locations, every year before it is like all these different locations from all these cons. And then 2020 is like home. Like, that's it the whole way. So it's crazy.
we had a couple places, not a ton, like you said, because some of it, like our family, like we went to like Cuyahoga and did some camping. So we're like, well, we'll
Sure.
take games with us for that. And there were a few people, like I had like literally one or two friends that I was like, okay, we'll meet, but we're gonna sit outside and we'll play games as long as everybody's healthy. And so playing Orleans on an outside picnic table was awful.
Wow.
But we're like, we just want to play this game. And
Yeah.
so, we made ways to make that work. I was just kind of introduced to tabletop and simulator and BGA at that time. I
Oh,
really hadn't played much with those. And and we even like put the camera set up and had another couple who are good friends who live in Texas, part of our Game of Sidekicks team, and him and his wife and my wife and I, we just kind of had like a date night with them. We played like
That's
rolling
awesome.
rights because somebody could roll the dice, and as long as we both owned it, we could still
I-
have a good time playing it through.
I'm sure you're familiar with it. Do you know Jackbox Party?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think if the pandemic hadn't happened, Jackbox would never be anywhere near as popular as it is, because I remember people introducing me to that, and we were playing it on the Switch and things like that. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this: did the types of games you played change in 2020?
Yeah, because my wife will play just about anything with me. My son is always up for any game that I'm willing to put in front of him on the table. But there's some of the heavier games I like that I've got like a game group that we play those with, right? So as
Gotcha.
much as they might play on Mars with me, I'm more likely to play it with that game group. So a lot of the bigger stuff that I enjoy playing, I didn't play as much. And so I think I
Gotcha.
got away from that. How about yourself?
Yeah, we went in two completely different directions. We're kind of the same family, like play anything, everything, all the time, and we tended to like lean towards roll and writes real heavily.
Yep.
Things that were quick and easy that you just play, 20, 30 minutes after dinner or something like that. Or we went to the exact opposite side of like it's Dwellings of Eldervale, and it was like these big, giant, massive, like lots of Too Many Bones. My wife and I love Too Many Bones, and like if there's a game we're gonna be like stuck on a deserted island with, like that's it. Like not just because it's waterproof, but because it's amazing. But we played a ton of that. I mean, I think in fact looking at my BG stats, that was the most played game of 2020 was Too Many
Too many
Bones.
bones.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but
kind of
it was
curious
just
what my most played
crazy.
was. Yeah, that's interesting too, because as I'm thinking about that, we played I think the first Pandemic Legacy during that time. I
That's
think
on
that's when
brand. That's
I
good.
think that's what started it, yeah. And it's also when we played Charterstone through with the kids.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
so like to get that legacy experience, keep coming back. And we even we like it's to the point where we were mixing things up, like what is Grim Forest. We got out Grim
Oh, yeah.
Forest and we had just a family paint night. No one in my family paints minis. I
Nice.
dabble, right? And so I was like, let's just make this our set. And the minis are not beautiful, but I'll remember that night where we got it all out and did it
Yeah, that's what
together.
it's all about, man. It's all about,
That's
a memory and, are you happy with it, right?
yeah, and we just had a good time with it.
That's cool.
Unfortunately, we cannot. I don't know. Ryan's able to bring comments up, but we had a few comments. Jason, Ryan's computer setup is jet lagged. So
Yeah, that's perfect.
he literally just got in yesterday.
Tu es très fatigué.
Shannon DeWitt, how's it going, Shannon? Love the Jackbox games. Yeah, I mean, I think I was introduced to him through our kids. Like our kids already kind of
Yep.
knew him and liked to play him, and I think for a little bit there, Derek and Lizzie were like streaming him on their live stuff, and
Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
kind of how I got to chat with him a little more at the time. And yeah, it was just
You
an
know
easy
what
way.
definitely picked up in 2020 for me was my Beat Saber play.
Oh
I
yeah,
did a lot of Beat Saber in 2020.
just video games in general kind of came back big for me at that point. And
Yeah,
I was never a Call of Duty guy, and I started playing it because I had board game friends who played, and it was just something for us to do at night to get on
nice.
and chat about, hey, how's everybody doing? Are you okay? Are you doing all right? And a few of the guys were living by themselves and just checking
Sure.
in with them, right, making sure they were doing all right.
It's always good to check in on people and kill Nazis. Those are good things.
Yeah, good 1-2 punch. So are there any board games you still enjoy in digital form? Like when we talk about BGA, TTS, or there's even app-based games. Are there any that you're like, yeah, I like that version of that game?
Are you talking about like the board game version of it over the digital or the digital over the board game?
The digital over the board game.
So ironically, you just mentioned one, Charterstone.
Okay.
I really enjoyed. We played through 2 full plays of Charterstone physically, which I think is like 12 plays in each
Yeah, I
run
think
through.
so.
And I still to this day, I'm always amazed. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the flame thing, I'll just leave it at that. Like the
Yep.
flame thing always kind of blew my mind. But it did feel a little bookkeepy when you were playing it physically.
Sure.
And when I got the app and the app first came out, it's got that adorable artwork and it's just really cute looking and everything. And the app was phenomenal. Like, it was just so easy to unlock new stuff. It didn't have that bookkeep feel of trying to, like, okay, you get this card, you get this card, you do this. Like, it was so fast and so quick. I absolutely loved that. And then Takedo is another one. Ironically, both of those are Stonemaier games now, since Takedo just got acquired by Stonemaier. But yeah, Takedo, I remember I was working with Funforge at the time when they were making it an app. And I remember the first time I saw it and I was like, man, if you didn't know this was based on a board game, you might not think it's a board game, because it just got that digital feel and just really, really cool. And I still to this day play both of them on my phone like all the time. So
yeah, we had a few that even outside of BGA, that when we talk about app based, that were very popular for our family. And so like we could all sit on the couch, we all had the Ticket to Ride app, and we all played Ticket to Ride together. And I love that it was real time on all of our phones, just passed it right around. Oh, I got the train whistle. It must be my turn. Like, we still will play that with our daughters.
You can go broke in that app real quick with all the expansions.
Well, that was during the pandemic. Because at some point it switched. Like, it switched to whoever studio was doing it. And they had this, like, it was like $50 or something to get everything.
Yeah, the whole
access
thing.
to the whole thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to pay
Worth
that
it.
for a board, physical copy of
It's
it.
going to cost you like $400 physically.
Right. So we did that, and then one of my daughter's favorite games has become one of my wife's favorites, especially app, is Potion Explosion. And
it's a great app.
And the app is
it's a board game that's based on an app physics. Right? It's Candy Crush, the board game.
but I get absolutely demolished by them because they play it a lot on their phone, and they've gotten a good rhythm, and they know how to take those negatives early and then just turn around. I'm just like, before I know it, I'm like, I think nope, I lost by 50. Got it.
That app has a lot of ASMR in it too, because it's got that whole like swirly potions and everything looks good and the explosions and stuff. So
yeah, they did a beautiful job with it.
Yeah,
it's funny. I went back and looked. My most played in 2020 were like stuff that was easy around the table with the family, was like Codename Pictures. So we played a lot of that. Mom and dad versus kids, or back and forth. Point Salad.
Fantastic. We did a lot of Hive Mind. Have you ever played Hive Mind?
I have. That's a great.
Yeah, we did a lot of that with the family. Apparently, I also did a lot of solo playing of Marvel Champions, which makes sense. That's on brand.
That's fair. But yeah, Point Salad was high. Whatnot Cabinet, another one. It's a Wonderful World, which was one of my son's favorites.
A Wonderful World.
Yeah. Just a solid card. We're big card. Like, if it's got a bunch of cards in it, we're in.
Nice.
So yeah, nice. And Magic was in my top 10 also, because again, kind of just got back into Magic. Magic. I think the 2020 core set came out then, and I was like, yeah, my son, I can teach my son this game. He's played other stuff like this. So
I still remember working at Iron Vic's Cards and Comics in New York in Poughkeepsie, and Vic looking at me and saying, "This Magic thing's just a fad. It'll be over with shortly."
Dagger. Let's see if we have Orion.
Can you hear me? Check.
Oh, very faintly.
Very faint.
More than before.
Yeah.
Check.
You sound like you're whispering.
Are you sure it's not a setting on your computer? No.
That's so weird.
Don't understand.
Do you have hollandaise sauce on your mic jack or something?
Because I assume you're
don't understand.
Yeah, computer volumes all
out of curiosity, did this laptop go with you to France? No. Okay.
Did your kids put a sandwich on it, or?
Right. That's what we need in chat. We need a poll of what happened to Ryan's audio. That's funny.
Check.
I mean, you're there. You're really quiet.
Yeah.
More than you were before, at least.
I mean, we could do this too. We could just talk.
Oh yeah, we could just ASMR this thing.
Yeah.
Check.
A little better.
I mean, Ryan, you do have a little bit of Viking blood in you, I think. You kind of got that look. You could just yell really loud into the microphone and it would probably come up as normal sound.
Check.
Oh, there you go.
Check.
Better.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, better. Yeah. You're echoey, but it's better.
Okay.
Yes. Much better.
Okay. Does this work?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is
we can
that
hear you. Are you getting mic input off the headset?
now? Check, check, check. Can you hear me here?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Is that
Yep.
better?
Yes.
About the same.
Man. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys.
No, I mean, I can definitely hear your bass now, which is good. So.
This
All
is
right, we'll just tell everybody where they can find you, Ryan. That was a great show.
I know. This is seriously, this is bad, guys. I'm so sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
you're
I have
fine.
that effect on technology. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I've sweated through my shirt, like literally running around the house
Oh
trying
my
to
goodness.
get things to work.
I'm
You're
And
so
not that
gross.
important of a guest. Trust
I know
me.
you're so gross, Ryan.
so, what are we doing tonight?
So we we talked baseball. We talked what we did during 2020. We talked about apps and digital forms that we enjoyed. So we're up to the what were your top games of 2020. We're kind of talking through what we played the most in 2020.
Yeah,
At that point, I was ranking, right? Like I have a top 10 that I went back and looked on the
same
site,
here. Yeah,
and not what I would put today, for
Really?
sure. Well, it's hard because, and we'll talk about why it's hard, but yeah, I would say half of them probably I
yeah,
would still keep in my top 10.
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I've
Rye,
got
where are you at with that?
yeah. So with my top 10, so kind of the same thing that you guys talked about already. Like we played a lot of online stuff. Actually, it was interesting during that time period in 2020. Uh, Aaron and I fell in love with BGA, with the amount of games that they had on BGA. We Luxor became one of our go tos. Like at night when we were kind of winding down, we'd play 3 games of Luxor, just because it was a game that we didn't own, and the setup for the game took a long time. Like it was one of those bigger setup games,
Yeah.
so we would much rather play it online, and we just fell in love with doing stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, I've got my top 10 list, and actually, I went through it earlier today, and about half of those, there's about 4 that I would remove. You know,
So around the
hindsight.
same. Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't have to say which ones would fall out, but what was on your top 10 back
No,
then?
no, no, no. We need to run the bus
Or,
over. No, I'm
or
kidding.
just bust them. Yeah, whatever you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
do.
I know. I think I know which ones I would actually remove. So I'll start with the top 10. I'd search for Planet X. Planet X stays there. I think it's one of the best logical deduction games around still.
Yeah.
It works seamlessly with this app. The app works great. Still a really solid game. Monstrosity has kind of fallen off for me. There's other drawing games that have taken its spot, but Monstrosity at the time was a lot of fun because while we were social distancing, we would sit in people's garages and we'd like draw, and it was fun. Um, so that stood out. Tang Garden was my number 8. That's a Lucky Duck game, and I still love Tang Garden. So
Nice.
still think it's a beautiful game. Prisma Arena from Hub Games. It's a really creative.
Oh yeah. Rory's game. I remember
Yes.
that. Yeah.
It's a really creative game that never took off, and it makes me sad because I've seen it in discount bins for less than $10, and it
Yeah.
makes me really sad. I actually only recently sold my copy, um, but I still think it's a really, really creative take. It's as close to a Pokemon game as you're going to get, like
Mhm.
Pokemon Arena Battle, you know? Fort is on there, number 6.
Oh yeah.
I still love Fort. We never get it to the table though.
Great.
Rallyman GT, Rallyman GT. That was played it on BGA and then had to own it. Smartphone Inc., Santa Monica, Pan Am, and then Unmatched Copland Fog. Those were my top 10.
Just for the record, because he's a good friend, Tang Garden was actually Thundergriff's game, and Lucky Duck just imported it and did distribution of it. So we can't take credit for it other than selling it. Tang Garden's a beautiful, beautiful game.
Yes, we actually did the review through you all because you guys approached us about
That makes sense.
doing a review. Yep.
Ironically, 2020 has one game that is it would probably be, and I'm going to get skewered for this, so here come the comments. Okay, so 2020 was the year that Dune Imperium released, which is inarguably one of the best-selling games of the last 5 years, and it is a fabulous game. Lost Ruins of Arnak, like you mentioned, also got released in 2020. Fabulous game. But the game I would put at number one for me for 2020, and it's still in my top 10 of all time, which is going to boggle people's minds. Project L. I absolutely love Project L. Everything about the game. It's so good to teach people. It's so much fun to play. And even if you've got new players versus experienced players, like it's just so much fun. I just absolutely love it. And it's kind of toy-like. It's got that like tactile Tetris pieces that 100%. You're like, got to get more of this stuff. I love that game. Yeah. 2020 was a pretty epic year for board games. Like there was a lot of good things that came out.
Yeah. We're going to talk about games that we kind of missed in 2020. And you named, I didn't even realize Dune Imperium was a 2020 release.
Yeah.
And it was one of those that at the end of the year, I played it and I was like, this is amazing. Or no, I played it at the beginning of 2021.
The next year. Yeah. That's when I finally got to it.
So,
for my top 10 for the year, my number one, it's still one of my top 3 games of all time, is On Mars. And that was the year I was mentioning I had a few friends that I played with, and the 2 guys I still would get together with, we must have played On Mars 15 plus times in 2020.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
And that is a game that, like a lot of the Lacerdas, if you can get deep in the woods with it and really make it your game, man, the way we play it with each other, we're like, it's very chess-like. When anybody else joins us, they just get pummeled, right? But but when the 3 of us play it and we see like, you're doing, okay, I see what you're doing there. And I just love the layers of that game. I love the back and forth of moving from the colony out to space. And
I have yet to play a Vital Lacerda game that is not good. I love every single one of them.
Yeah, that was my one. Rococo, the revamped version, was number 2. Pan Am, right, you had in there was really good too. One that, as I'm going back, I'm like, I haven't played Pan Am in years. Like I
played it about 2 years ago.
It feels like 20 years for me.
Yeah.
Calico was in there. Sorcerer City.
Calico was a 2020 game?
Yeah.
Calico is amazing.
Wow, that's crazy. I would have thought that was like 22.
Fort Honey Buzz was in there.
See, I don't own Honey Buzz, but I played it. I played it a couple times. I enjoy it, but I think because I don't own it, it just kind of didn't hit my list.
That's fair.
Do you guys play a lot of Civilization or 4X games?
I do not.
I love 4X games. Like I love the tech trees. I love the concept of like this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. Yeah. There were 2 games in 2020 that I will literally like drop anything to go run and play anytime I get the chance. One of them is Beyond the Sun, which is very much civilization, tech building kind of tree. The other one is very under the radar, and people either know it or they don't know it. They know the video game it's based on, but they don't know the board game necessarily, but it's by Cosmos. It's Anno 1800. Anno 1800 is possibly, I guess the nice way to say it is, it could have had better graphic design, but it is so good of a engine building, tech tree building kind of game, and I just absolutely love it. My wife and I will play that like all the time.
So that's on my, when we talk about regrets in a little bit, that is one of my, I played it in 2021.
Okay.
I played it so many times in 2021 and then wish I had gone back and put it in my top 5.
Nice.
Just easily it's my favorite Martin Wallace design. Easily.
Yeah.
100%. Well, let's jump into that. Like what games did you find that were of 2020, but you didn't find them till much later?
I have a bit of a wall of shame on this one. It's Tranquility, the game that Lucky Duck sells.
Yeah,
and I knew it, I saw it, but I never played it until I started to work for the company in 2022. And I remember the first time I played it and I was like, okay, I can kick myself now for not playing this game because it comes in a little tiny box and it's like a Rubik's Cube size. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's a cute little card game, whatever. And then I played it for the first time in 22. I was like, oh, yeah, I've been missing out on this. This was great.
So
Yeah,
Tranquility was on my list because Tristram Rawson, his artwork is just phenomenal. And
Yeah.
it's one that still to this day, I still have never played Tranquility. But it's one that I need to do. So Chad says, if 2022 list doesn't contain Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, Jurassic Parks, or Kohaku. So here's the thing. Kohaku was my number one game in 2019.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So let's correct the
Jurassic
publisher.
Jurassic Parts was on my top 10 of 2020.
It was.
My original
It was.
top.
Awesome.
Yep. So Winner Winner Chicken Dinner. I liked it, and we played it with family and friends, but not being in my top 10. So
Yeah, that's fair.
My regret of 2020, well, Tranquility was definitely my shame thing. I didn't play it until midway through 2021. Red Cathedral.
love Red Cathedral.
Absolutely loved that game. When I played it, I was like, how did they fit all this awesome into this tiny little box?
Such a small box.
Yeah, it was so good.
So I had 3 major ones on my. I wish that I had known about these in 2020. Dune Imperium, it would have been in my top 10. Anno 1800, it would have been in my top 5.
Nice.
And Nidavellir would have made my top 10. Nidavellir is probably the most played out of those 3. It is. I think it's one of the best just pure set collection games there is. It works so well. All the extra little things that they added to the game with expansions, Thing of Valir, the Isaac and I saw this last year. They had the box of coins. Had to pick that up. Yeah, it's so
Gorgeous.
good.
Yeah.
So, Bob saying, how many cigars did you smoke in Italy? So let's talk about my voice for a second. I got sick halfway through our trip. So we went to
Oh, that
Paris,
sucks.
went to France. We took crazy trip. I got sick halfway through the trip. I only got sick for 2 rough days. The rest of it was solid, but I completely lost my voice. So this is what I'm working with right now. So
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
got. So
Yeah, I had a few. I mean, as I was going through my list, there were so many that I was like, oh, yep. You talked about Beyond the Sun. That's one I just found like this last year in 2024, and absolutely loved it, enjoyed it, loved how it played. And there's so many. It's funny, of my 5 that we're going to talk about, you guys have already talked about 4 of the 5. My not on my top 10 recommendations.
Yeah.
But there's so many. I mean, Micro Macro, I noticed on there. I didn't find till well after the fact.
That's a great game. I didn't think that was a 2020 game.
Yeah, On the Rocks, which shout out to Mike. I love that game. I love everything about the style and the rhythm of that game. Abandon All Artichokes was another one that didn't find until a couple of years later.
No.
Great little family game. So
Nice.
I mean, and I think that segues into our last question here before we talk specifically about you, Scott, is how hard is it to get to every game in a release year? Like how that's a real challenge, right?
I don't call it the shelf of shame like most people call it. I call it the shelf of opportunity, because it's what it is for me, right? It's but yeah, especially that year, 2020 and 2021, it was so hit and miss of, could you get to everything that was released? Could you get to everything that was new?
Yeah.
Plus, you had the kind of big push of things were late, right? I remember, is Gen Con going to happen? Oh, I don't know. Oh, well, are people importing their games? Oh, I don't know. Like, it was like there were so many things that were up in the air that year in 2020 and then into 2021 with the shipping crisis and everything going crazy with that. So, yeah, it's I at least for me, I don't think it's gotten any better in the last 5 years. it's kind of like we started the stockpile up, and then 21 hit, then 22 hit, and 23 hit, and it's like just slowly kept kind of steamrolling on stuff. So
So many games.
There
Yeah, and
isn't. I don't know. I feel like there is and there isn't, right? Like there are so many games, but much like anything else in life, like I always compare it to music. Like there's so much music that gets released on a regular basis. Now, granted, you can consume a Beyonce song in 3 minutes and 12 seconds, while it takes you 3 hours and 12 minutes to play On Mars, right? So it's like a little
yes.
bit different, but I tend to, I know what I like, and I tend to go after what I like. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think in December, it's usually going into that Thanksgiving week. I make my list of all the games that I haven't gotten to that I really wish I'd gotten to. And I try to, it's tough because that last month of the year, you got Christmas events and you have family gatherings, and it's just not going to happen. A good example is I'm sitting over here, sitting next to River of Gold. Okay. River of Gold is one that hit a lot of
fabulous game.
people's hit a lot of people's 2024 lists.
Yep.
I didn't get to play it. In fact, I only got to play it about 3.5 weeks ago. Immediately bought it, played it multiple times. This would have been my top 7 easy last year.
Yep.
Great game.
But it's like you only have so much time. It's like, do you just play the top 20 that other people are saying? Do you look at BGG and just kind of cherry pick? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with how I always struggle every year with how to approach that last month of the year, trying to fit in the games that I didn't get to play.
Well, and for us, I think doing content, it's hard because there's so many games that come in front of us that we feel obligated or have a relationship to play, where maybe River of Gold is one you would have played, but you weren't going to get sent that. And when you finally do get it, which I played that in mid-January of this year, I was like, oh gosh, so good. So good. And so part of it is, I know what I like, but I also like we were moving here in a month's time. I just went through the stack. I accumulated like 20 plus games that were just kind of in boxes waiting for me to open. And I'm like, I can knock out a bunch. My buddy Hank's going to come over hopefully this weekend to help me knock out a bunch, but some of them are going to be one-time plays and 1-2 time plays. And I'll be like, and some of them are going to be, wow, this is getting added into the rotation. This is a great game. Diatoms is the one I just got from Chad that my wife loves, absolutely.
You told me about
it. And it's going to get a lot of play because
you told
of that.
Me about that.
So good. So good.
That is something that I don't miss about creating content and doing board game reviews is there's a point where I think everyone struggles with this, whether you have 50 subscribers or 5 million subscribers, you have a backlog of stuff. And the mental approach when you sit down to play a game can sometimes be like, oh, it's River of Gold. I'm excited for this. I want to get into this. And then other times it could be, oh, I want to play this, but I have to play this. And that feeling of having to play always frustrated me when I was doing content creations. That's one thing I don't miss. I don't envy you guys for, because I know, I've talked to many of the content creators we work with, and the backlog is real. Like it's a real thing.
It is. And as we started, and I think Ryan and I both hit this, as we started, we were happy to get anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're just like, oh, I've never heard of you. I'll review your game. And now that we've established good relationships, it's great. But then there's this slow crescendo of do I have too many relationships, or which ones do I turn away? Because the ones I have are ones I've taken the time to curate, to grow, to have good opportunities with. They're not ones that I'm like, well, if they send something else or not, they'll be lucky to have it. Like there's a symbiotic relationship.
There is,
that, and some of them just fall off.
Yeah.
Some of them just fall off, and then I go looking for new ones. Thanks to Rye with Trick or Treats.
Man, Trick or Treats,
they're killing it, man. They're doing some cool things.
They've got some great stuff, and the fact that they're expanding out from the horror genre, which is my love,
That's
Yeah,
your bread and butter.
they're expanding out and doing really well at it. So
Yeah,
Yeah, for
smart
sure.
people over there.
Hey, speaking of boarding companies, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, your role with what you do with Lucky Duck, and where people see what you do.
I wish
in
I
this
knew
world.
what I did. No, so I used to be chief sales and marketing officer for Lucky Duck, which meant I ran all the sales and marketing globally. And then we were acquired last year by Goliath, which is a toy company out of the Netherlands. And since then, my role has changed. So I'm now with the technical title is called Global Brand Director. But it basically means that I'm running a lot of different things. So I run the crowdfunding team. I run our GPN team, which is our global publishing network, which is an agency business where we'll work with other publishers and help localize, translate their games, and find different buyers in different regions to localize their games. I work with Michal Herman, who is our head of portfolio, who is our licensing expert, and he's amazing. That guy he's like the game whisperer. He looks at it and he's like, yep, that's going to be a hit. That's going to be good. He knows immediately. So, and
That's
then
awesome.
work also with our English market team and our customer service team, which is amazing. I got a lot. I have a lot of hats and I run a lot of teams. So
That's awesome. And I know I've seen you often. You at boarding conventions. You find yourself at a lot of the shows,
I
traveling,
travel way
right?
too much.
Traveling out
Yeah,
to different
way too
places.
much. I just finished. In fact, you were talking about a crazy trip, Ryan. In February into March, I did Gamma in 1 week. Then I went immediately to New York for New York Toy Fair. And then I came home, did laundry, and 48 hours later turned around and went to Poland for a week because that's where Lucky Duck is based out of, is in Warsaw. So
yeah,
it's
that's
crazy.
wild.
Absolutely crazy. How I didn't get sick from those 3 weeks, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if my body is just like built up the antibodies or whatever from it, but it was just crazy. So
Yeah, no doubt. That's really cool.
yeah. And right now I am
Yeah.
like, as I sit here to my right, I am like almost like 4 feet high of boxes of nothing but Food Chain Magnate, because we've gotten in all the white box samples and all the cool, awesome stuff from the super deluxe version that we did. So
Yeah, that
I
looked
can't
gorgeous.
wait, dude. I'm
That was
so
a.
excited to get this in people's hands. It
uh,
is gorgeous. Like
That's really cool.
I've been just looking at the things that are like pre-production models, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
it's definitely one I should have backed. It's when I'll be looking at conventions. I'll have to come knocking on some. See if you guys sell
Nice.
extras, because that's Food Chain's one of my
That's
favorites.
awesome.
That is
That's awesome.
that is a classic game. So we usually move into this last part where we call it the pick five, and it's not a top five, it's not the best five. It's kind of a, hey, here's 5 games we'd recommend a certain genre, and we're basically, because of where we're at here, we're saying, hey, here are 5 games in the 2020 release time that we think you'd enjoy playing. And Rye, you got the music for this?
Yeah. Pick 5. Everybody's gonna pick
Oh,
5.
don't sing.
And there's 5 games, and we're gonna pick 5 of them. It's really good. There we go.
There you go. I
There we
shared
go.
there's the picture.
Oh, geez. Let's put it on the screen. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you got Eiffel Tower in there.
Yeah, why did you seriously
I
take
took
that
that.
bingo board in your
I took
packed
that
luggage?
bingo board all the way to France. We played it on a boat with people, and then we took it to the Eiffel Tower. We got up under it.
You're crazy. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Don't tell me I'm not
You're
dedicated.
insane.
So
You are a crazy
everybody
bingo
out
man.
here is
All right, so
taking trio. I'm taking a bingo board.
Nice.
well, I am gonna take Tidal Blades with me then.
Oof.
So
That's a lot,
touche.
man.
That's a lot.
I'm taking all of my Marvel Zombie
There we
side.
go.
Full pledge.
Put it on.
So we do these one at a time. Scott, we'll start with you, and just kind of a game that came out in 2020 that you'd say, hey, you really need to check this out.
So I'm actually going to try and pick things that weren't on the stuff we talked about earlier, because I think that kind of goes without saying, of like, try those out.
Yeah.
There's a game that came out in 2020 that I have only played once, but I really enjoyed it and want to play it again. It was definitely a late, like didn't find it until later. Merv. I thought Merv
Remember that?
was
Yeah.
super beautiful. And at first I was like, maybe this is just pretty and it doesn't have a lot of substance, but it's a really, really, really cool little game.
It's a good pick. Right.
So I misread this thing. So I put 5 that I would like to play from 2020. So I'm gonna change. I'm gonna
Oh.
change them on the fly. Dune,
Yeah. Go on
Dune
the fly.
Imperium. Dune Imperium. We've talked about it already. It is just such an excellent worker placement game.
There you go.
Bob showed me how to play it in 2021. I loved it. I've played it probably 3 times since. I own a copy. My desire is that Aaron and I would sit down and play that at some point. Yeah, so it's fantastic.
Look, right. It matches. When I flip it,
That's
it's the right
You're
direction.
awful.
Nice.
You're terrible.
It bothers him
me.
I can understand.
that isn't
You
lined up.
line up the box, the front and the back, and go in the thing.
Never
Yeah.
have I ever, sir.
Yeah.
So only one of these that we have talked about, and I'm gonna do some different ones, is one of my favorite. Like let's have some chaos around the table, and that's Moonrakers. What a great combat with each other, crawl, lie, cheat, steal, work together until I stab you in the back game. It's the things that I enjoyed about Munchkin when I first got into board gaming, but in a much more gamey, what do I want to use the word, fair experience. I love Moonrakers.
Nice. I think my next one is one that I haven't played all the way through, but I've played like 75% of the way through. My City from Cosmos.
Oh yeah.
I think it was My Island was the one that just came out after
Yep.
that. I can't remember, but yeah, I haven't played that one yet. But My City was 2020, and that was a game that when I played the first, I guess, episode or scenario or whatever you want to call it, I was like, okay. And then by the second one, I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Like, this is great. So
Yeah, playing 4 at a time. It's I remember
it's that
doing that.
repeatability kind of thing where you're like, I just want to dive in deeper, right?
Yes,
So
yep.
yeah, My City was very, very cool.
So next on my list, I'm going to point out Furnace. Furnace was a big hit for me at Origins in
great game.
2021. I think is when, but it came out in 2020 at the end of 2020. Furnace is a fantastic game. It is just very well made. It's got a lot of it. It's like pulling those levers and changing things. And when you get a round of the game where you end with all of your resources being used substantially and converted and everything else, it feels so good. Like it feels real good. So Furnace was a great 2020 release.
It's a good pick. We talked about the rest of these. All right, so I'm going to go with a party game that will never ever get old for me, and that is Hues and Cues that came out 5 years ago. 5 years that's been around, and Scott has enjoyed the celebrity of that game, and it's just been awesome to see him so excited about all the places it appeared. I loved at TantrumCon this year, he was telling me how he's now part of the MCU because the game appeared in some series, one of the series on
That's really cool.
Disney Plus, and just such a fun game. And it's one of the first reviews I did, that a written review that we did, that a designer emailed me directly and said, hey, great review, thanks. The only criticism was it didn't work for colorblind people, and in fact it does, because they see the colors they see in the cubes that they point at. And he's like, it works just fine for colorblind. And sure enough, we played it with some, and it works great. So
my son's colorblind, and he's able to play it. So amazing. Scott reached out to us. We did a live stream. We did a basically COVID lockdown live stream where we played Hues and Cues across multiple locations, and we all played together. And Scott sent me a note saying this is the closest I've ever seen using cues to look dialed in on somebody's webcam. And
That's awesome.
I was like, that meant a lot because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like,
Q's,
you know,
Q's and Q's is one of the probably 10 best party games or 10 best family games of all time. Like,
absolutely.
Easy,
Absolutely.
easy. And I love that it continues to find new people and new
Yeah.
audiences, and
Yep.
and will be one of those like games that non-gamers know.
Yep. I'm gonna cheat a little for my next one. This was released in 2020, and some people could argue it's an expansion, but it plays perfectly fine standalone on its own. It's the Unmatched set Cobble and Fog.
Yes.
I love Unmatched. It is top 3 games of all time for me. And Cobble and Fog is hands down the best set, in my opinion, of all of them.
Absolutely.
The mechanics that it uses, the Sherlock Holmes Watson thing, the Invisible Man thing, it's just,
Yeah.
there's so many cool mechanics from those 4 characters. The Jekyll and Hyde flip, it's just absolutely love that set of Unmatched. Like, again, stuck on a desert island or deserted island, like you only have one thing, like that could be top of the list. Fabulous, fabulous.
Absolutely. So I know Isaac has a lot of really powerful opinions about Unmatched. I just want to give him a little bit of space now to share.
Yeah. Rye's never played Unmatched, which is really weird.
I mean, everyone has a fault, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm often disappointed in him that he has never had a chance to play it.
Person. So Scott, Aaron and I, my wife Aaron and I, during COVID, we started this thing called Friday Night Fight, which was an Unmatched series where me and her played, and like that literally boosted our channel into monetization range during COVID. But Unmatched is like one of our top 10 games of all time, and Isaac refuses to play it with me because he doesn't want to fall in love.
At this point, it's just me being difficult.
It is, and you are difficult.
Yeah.
So.
on what? There you go. There's Hank's response for you.
Yeah. I'm going to throw Tiny Epic Dinosaurs into the mix.
Oh, nice.
Tiny Epic Dinosaurs is one that I literally bought because of the tiny little baby dinosaurs.
Yep, 100%.
It is a great worker placement game, or is it worker placement? I can't. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, sure. It's really fun, and it's very easy to teach new gamers, which surprised me. I taught my son's best friend, how to play it, and he loved it. And so, Tiny Epic Dinosaurs is just a lot of fun. And who doesn't want a tiny Jurassic Park? You know.
So, this is true.
It's fair. This is our third. We're on 3. We're on 3.
Yep.
So one that we discovered at Gen Con, not 24, but 23, and we all went and bought every copy they had amongst our group. To the fact that somebody said, "Why is this game hot?" I've sold like 50 of these today, and it was Spicy. And Spicy, the card game, came out in 2020. We discovered it 3 years later. Have you played it, Scott? Are you familiar?
No, I've not. I know what it is, but yeah, I haven't played
wow. It is. I mean, it's BS, right? But it's like 2-level BS where you have to BS the suit and the number.
Okay.
And you call somebody out on it, but you have to call them on the suit or the number. So depending on what they lied about, if they only lied the one, and so it's for our group of guys that love to get together and just be loud, obnoxious at board game conventions, it's perfect. For my teenage son that loves to be loud, obnoxious, it's perfect. And it's my wife does not enjoy the game, but it's a game that works well for a group of people, and that was another big 2021 that we didn't find until years later.
Nice. I think actually I'll probably save that one for last because that was one of my ones. We kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but I'll come back to it. If I'm right, and someone may correct me and like reset me if I'm wrong, Marvel United was 2020.
It was.
Yes.
Marvel United is, whether or not you like the art style or you like the chibi-ness of the characters, it is impossible to argue to me that Marvel United is not a good game. Like, it is so solid of a system, and I think I mortgaged like a month's worth of stuff for DC United when it's coming out and everything like that. Marvel United was fabulous game that I think everyone should play at least once to just dig in and enjoy. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, who doesn't love a good superhero game, right?
100%.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a good one. So I had the one I had was, where is it? Sorry, I passed it. And it's Ride the Rails, pick up and deliver game from Capstone Games. I love Ride the Rails. It is a simple yet complex pick up and deliver game where you feel like you're not doing anything, and then things compound over and over, and by the end you feel like a boss of railroads. It's a really cool game. I actually bought some expansions years ago for it and still have never played them, so I might need to make that happen this year.
Nice.
Good pick. Yeah, it's funny. Over here on my side, I've got Nidavellir, Project L, and Anno 1800. Well, we've talked about all those, so
There you go.
I won't use any of those. But
Yeah.
my next one of the ones that I did mention quickly, but we did not mention fully, is Tidal Blades. Tidal Blades Hero of the Reef came out in 2020. That was probably one of the first really big Kickstarters I went, like, yeah, I'm getting all of the things. Like, I love what James is doing. I've loved everything he's had at this point. Let me have it. And anytime I see the word Eisner on a game, I am all in. And
Timmy boy.
yeah, I love Tim.
And Mr. Cuddington. So it's
yes,
like
the
best of
Cuddington
both
art
worlds.
is absolutely amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was Tidal Blades. Big game, big box. Don't play it as much as I did when we first got it, but it's never leaving my collection.
It's good.
So I'm going to throw out a game that you may never have heard of, maybe, because I've run into people who, even in the industry, are like, "What? I've never heard of that." Like, you've either heard of it or you haven't. But it did come out in 2020. It's one of my top 5 party games of all time. I absolutely love it. It is in a terribly wonky size box. It's in a box that's like Secret Hitler size and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game from Roxley, who I love. Everyone there is awesome. It's called Guerrilla Marketing.
I have that.
It is
Interesting.
silly, stupid fun because, and this is what I love about this game. It's a game where you're all making a product from a company and you use dice to bingo. There it is. Yep.
Like, I know where that is.
Dice that are like acronyms. So you'll have like PTL and you have to like make a product that begins with the letters P, T, and L. And then you make a slogan and like things like that. And it's so much fun. But the thing that I love about it is it's a game that scales to the obscenity of the group. So if you play with kids, it's totally PG and awesome and you have a lot of fun. If you play with a bunch of people with, glasses of wine and shots around the table, it can be as rude and as crude as you want it to be. And it's just super, super silly fun of a party game. We've had so much fun with that game.
It is a weird box.
It's a weird box. It's a little wonky, right? But yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. I'm going to throw out Meeple Land. This one was Blue Orange Games. Meeple Land is a polyomino, like
I remember that.
you're building
I had
out
that close
these
too.
items. You're building out these items to build your own park, and then you're trying to assign, like, specific rides need specific people. So you're assigning these people, and you're taking these buses of meeples, and the meeples are all crowding into the park. It's really fun. I feel like that's a super underrated game. Meeple Land should be a lot higher than it is on most people's lists. It's a great one.
One of the oh man, I remember that because there was like a tear like between 2020 and 21 of like different theme park games. I remember that one standing out now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I had that. I just reshelved that somewhere. I think I put it next to Unfair and Funfair somewhere in this
It's
house.
funny because Unfair had delivered the year before, I think, and I was very disappointed in it. And
Hmm.
when Fun Fair came out, I was like, between this and Meeple Land, I don't need anything else. You know?
Funfair is I think the way better game, but you
Oh
have to like the take that of unfair to like that game.
yeah,
Um, finally for me is from Pencil First Games. It's the 100 Tori.
Oh yeah.
Beautifully designed, another Dutray works, got Caputo game. It's a very pretty on the table game. Expand your garden, draw some tiles, tile placement. I mean, Pencil First to me, like I show my wife the logo and she's like, yeah, I'll play their game. Like
yeah,
she knows
yeah.
it's going to be smooth and calm and pretty and have like a really nice rhythm to it. And that one, no problem. They knocked it out with 100 Tori.
It's cool.
My last one, I mentioned it briefly, I think earlier, and I have loved this game for a very long time, and now we have a game that is the spiritual successor to it, and I love that game just as much, but they still both have a spot on my shelf. Dwellings of Eldervale.
Mm.
I love Luke Laurie as a human being and as a designer. And I remember playing Dwellings for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So Luke lives rent free in my head and knows every single thing I like about a board game, and just shoved it in this box. Right? It was
That's cool.
amazing. And now we have, of course, Andromeda's Edge with our partnership with Cardboard Alchemy, and that is kind of like the successor. I heard a reviewer say. Andromeda's Edge is Dwellings of Eldervale in space with better combat. And I was like, yeah, I can buy that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's cool. Did we already do five? We already did five, right?
Think that was 5 for all
That
this.
was my
Yes.
favorite. Yeah.
That was five. Okay, I didn't have a five then.
That's
So,
okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
We said so many good games.
yeah, yeah.
Outside
So
of
I
ones
like
to
that we all had different ones too. Like we didn't really
yes.
overlap a lot, which is really
there's
cool.
that's what's so crazy about each of these years. Like you could throw out 30, 40 games and they're all bangers. I mean, they're all things that are like it's worth buying, you know?
Yep.
So,
Also very enjoyable for sure.
yep. So cool.
So we'd like to end with what are you currently playing? What's hit your table most recently?
This tiny pocket game called Elder Scrolls. Um, yeah, no,
Oh
it was
gosh.
funny. I saw Elder Scrolls 2 years ago at Essen. And I remember telling Josh Carlson from Chip Theory Games, it was like, oh, okay, so this is your Avengers. You just threw all the best parts of all your other games into one game and blended it up. And he's like, maybe, yeah, a little bit, right? And I didn't play it until I just got my backed copy. I was going to say Kickstarter copy, but it was on GameFound, I think, if I remember right. But we played it, and we went through the whole dice tutorial. And my wife looked at me, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm very torn about this game. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, we have played Too Many Bones over 100 times, and it is my favorite game of all time. I'm like, yeah. And she goes, I'm ready to replace it with one play of this game. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that was insane. So yeah, we've really enjoyed Elder Scrolls. Really, really cool.
That's really cool. So I have literally been playing a pocket game. This right here is called Odin, and we actually bought it in France because it is a French game. This is a ladder climbing game that is so easy. It reminds me a little bit of Volonimo, which I actually really like a lot. But this is an easy 2 to 6 player game. It has slender cards, very small footprint. This is going to be one of our most played games this year. Lauren and I picked it up, and it was easy to teach. Plays in under 30 minutes. It's really fun. And then I found one of my Grail games, Pitch Car, brand new in the box,
sealed,
unopened. And it wasn't in triple digits. It was.
You want to talk about addictions?
Well, we've played it 4 times, I think now. Just since we've only been home for 2 days, so we've played it 4 times already. Man, it's really good. It's really fun. So,
Nice.
and now
Yeah,
I own a copy.
we had a chance to play that at Gamers Ranch for the first time
Yeah.
when we went with a bunch of friends, and he had everything, and he made us
Yeah,
this
that's my
huge,
yeah.
huge setup on like a ping pong table and like
So
curves
cool.
and jumps, and it was crazy. So
That's my
yeah,
problem now. I don't have any money to buy the extra pieces, and I can't find them. So
yeah,
yeah,
3D.
3D print. Yep.
Yeah,
So
we've been playing a pair of games that are coming from 25th Century. We've had here a week, 2 weeks. Yeah, that's one of them. These two guys, Observatory and Stargazer,
so
two,
good.
two
Nice.
spacey themed games. Both really, really enjoyable. Stargazers is a really fun tile placement game. JB Howell did that with Don Riddle. Really, really puzzly, like in ways that I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. So these are the ones my wife does not enjoy playing when I say, oh, yeah, we'll see this again in a couple of years. So
Nice.
enjoy the prototype. We'll see it again in
Yeah. Yeah.
2026.
Yeah. So
All right. So where can we find everybody? So Scott, where can we find you? Where do you exist on the interwebs or Lucky Duck? Where can we find information?
Yes. The answer is yes. Lucky Duck wise, you can just look up Lucky Duck Games anywhere. Ironically, as we're doing this, our website is down because we're doing a planned migration to move over as part of the acquisition on everything. But yeah, luckyduckgames.com. You can find us on social media by searching Lucky Duck Games everywhere. Me personally, I usually go by the tag of Crits Happen. So if you search Crits Happen on, I haven't touched whatever you call it. I don't know if it's Twitter or X or whatever. I gave up on it a while ago, but on Instagram and on Facebook, I'm Crits Happen, and you can find me there. So, yeah.
good. Nice. You can find One Board Family all over the place at One Board Family. We're on TikTok and Blue Sky and Facebook and all that stuff, YouTube. Go over to oneboardfamily.com to find all of our written pieces and some video content.
What's new over there at One Board Family?
I did a video review of Top Tier. It's
Okay.
stupid fun.
Great
It
party
is
game.
less of a game, more of an activity, but it is still very fun.
But you had fun.
Tried very hard to get that for Lucky Duck Games. I really wanted that game.
Really?
Yeah.
I had very low hopes of it, and then when we played it at a birthday party and nobody wanted to stop playing it, I knew I was like, nah, this is a hit.
Yeah, it's addictive.
And then Huten, this one, it's interesting. I really like this one. It feels a little bit like Harmonies, but not enough like Harmonies that it would replace it. So
Nice. I love Harmony.
yeah, it was my game of the year last year. So that's what.
Awesome.
It's hard not to compare the two, but it's Huton's very good, very good game. So
Awesome. Yeah, you can find us over at Gaming with Sidekicks on all of the socials, especially over on TikTok, Instagram, and on our website, www.gamingwithsidekicks.com, where we just published today. We had 2 articles come out. Randy, who's on our team, is big into the Ultraman CCG card game, which I guess is picking up some steam. He's doing some deck analysis on that. And I just did our review of the Fellowship, the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking card game.
That's a mouthful.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta go over there and read up your take.
TM copyright circle.
Yes. Yeah, we enjoyed it. It's
great game. Just played that with Allison and Daniel Burrell last week. It was great.
That's so good. Yeah, and those are good people right there.
They are good peeps.
It's great.
I really appreciate that you threw in the www dot, because I mean, no one would know where to go without that World Wide Web dot, right?
Yeah.
I always type that in the front of all my websites now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
All right, Ryan.
Thanks so much for everybody watching and hanging out with us on the game chat. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Anyway, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Have a good one.
Go Yankees.
Thanks again.